Reserve Podcast. I'm Jason Bound from Hard Money Bankers. And next to me, Ian Horowitz from Equity Warehouse. What's up, Ian?
What's up, man? It's been a while since we've done one of these live ones.
It's too hard to get you down here.
I know, as we move up the ranks as the number one podcast from we've gone from Howard County to the state of Maryland to the East Coast to the whole United States to the whole world to now the whole universe. It's hard for us to connect because we have so many people chasing us down. It's a lot of work.
It is. Well, luckily, we got a great guest I'm going to introduce to everybody here in a second. His name's Chris Kershisnik. He's probably been a friend of mine for 20 years, probably going 20 years.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so I've known Chris for about 20 years. Ian's known him for a few years.
Yeah.
Chris is a real estate agent. He's licensed in a few different states. So today we're hoping that we're going to talk about maybe some work-life balance. We'll talk about the local real estate markets because that's always a hot topic, especially where we're at right now with rising interest rates and low inventory. And
our first repeat guest, I think.
Really?
First repeat guest?
Legitimately, we've done some other group type stuff, and then we had the groups break down into singles. But I think this is the first one-on-one person that we've had come back for our second repeat. For our repeat.
Man, I feel special.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
He's in the hot seat too. And we'll see where else this conversation goes. I know you recently changed brokerages.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that because I know that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So, Chris, welcome to the show. Why don't you just maybe do a quick intro, a little bit about yourself?
So before I do any of that, Jason and I started our careers together. Is that good? All right. We started our careers together. We are both in year 20. If you can believe it. In year 20, we started at Long & Foster and King Farm. I just got out of the Marine Corps, and he just graduated from college and came back from Colorado. And we were both 22?
22 years old. True story.
And we had no idea what we were doing.
Now people know how old we are.
sold some houses. It was pretty funny.
So you were a broker and you were a mortgage broker?
No, we were both real estate agents.
Oh.
We both worked at Long & Foster. We're both real estate agents. Chris had a week more experience than me.
Yeah.
We were both we both took the class together.
The young kids was me and you and Ellie. Ellie hit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And learned a lot. We were in King Farm, Long & Foster and King Farm.
Yeah. Before we go anywhere, I got to ask, you went to traditional college. You were in the Marine Corps. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
What, whose college experience was better?
Better?
I mean, do you think?
I think I had a great experience.
Yeah, but
I don't know better. That's
maybe better is not the right word. I mean, you guys got two different life lessons, right? You were put into a very structured environment. You were put into a very non-structured environment. But I don't believe Jason could handle the military. I'd like to see someone tell him what to do. But I mean, how do you think?
You're in a college. They're structured to college. They're structured to college.
You think?
It's a lot of money, and
yeah.
My freshman year of college, I got pulled out of college because I failed and I had to get back into college. So that was a quick life lesson.
Yeah. Fair.
It's a real curriculum to follow. College was personally hard for me because
you're not the bookworm.
I'm not the bookworm. That's a good way to state
it.
Right.
You are a GSD kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I say the military, did it help you from a structure back, your background, how'd you end up in the military, to give you good structure, or is just it's what you wanted to do, or?
So, I grew up in an agricultural environment,
right?
And it's very much Mayberry, and you work. My summer jobs were I built houses. I did construction, built houses, and I worked from 7 in the morning to 5 at night. And from there, it was just work. So I was in a structured environment. I was really heavy into athletics when I was a kid. And I really did not I didn't make a decision on what I wanted to do for college.
Right.
So I punted and joined the Marine Corps because I didn't want to waste money.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get out of North Dakota. And the Marine Corps seemed like a pretty good outlet for that. And I wanted to get promoted as fast as I could. I worked as hard as I could. I learned whatever I could. I networked well in the Marine Corps, got to know people, and there's very much I scratch your back, you scratch mine type of system.
Right.
And I learned basically the customer service aspect. how to maintain relationships with customers and manage expectations. And the other thing I really didn't like about the Marine Corps was I was put in charge of 30 guys.
Right.
And I had no control over them. They could go home and get a DUI or beat their wife, and I would hear about it from 50 people the next weekend.
Give me your TPS reports, right?
Yes. and I was making I think my best year in the Marine Corps, I made $35,000.
Right.
And I was like, if I'm gonna give everything I have, I'm gonna set my ceiling.
Right.
And I got big into Robert Kiyosaki as I got done with the Marine Corps, and I said, I'm gonna get out of that quadrant, and I'm gonna do this. So
right.
Be a business owner. And I met my wife, and we moved. She's from Maryland, from Gaithersburg. I never lived on the East Coast, so we came out here, and my father-in-law said, you should sell houses. You should look into real estate, because he did real estate, all kinds of stuff, real estate. He said you'd probably be a good salesperson. And that just so happens it was 2003 when you did not have to be a very good salesman to be a realtor. And I think I think my first year I made $90,000. So I almost tripled my income, and I didn't know what I was doing.
And you're 24 at the time, or 23 at the time. So
we just had our first kid, and everything was wonderful, and you meet all these new people, and it was a blast.
Well, and
for about 4 years, and then reality kind of ran you over like a Mack truck.
Yeah, but that reality was important. I think that reality of what happened is going to happen to a lot of people coming soon.
You can already see it. Yeah.
Because you got through that, right? You already know what the end looks like. And there was a lot of people that we know that made a ton of money selling real estate, financing real estate, just being involved in real estate between those years until 07, 08, and they're gone. And most of them, a lot of them never came back because of that. But the ones that survived just, it catapulted them, to that next level.
Yeah.
Just seeing that. And I feel like someone asked me, I was on a podcast yesterday, and someone asked me, well, how did you weather the 2007, 2008 storm? And I was like, not that I was new then, but I still kind of was new, right? I was still kind of naive to what was going on. Even though we made some money back then, it wasn't like we made all this money and just started blowing money. We were responsible humans, right?
Yeah.
And we were forced to. And because of that, I wasn't really impacted too much on that. We had to pivot, we had to change.
Yep.
You had to do stuff, but it wasn't like, hey, I went from making $1 million a year to being homeless the next year, like that, or the next day, that never happened.
And we were at the stage of our life. I think we were fortunate. You're in your early 20s. You don't have a huge mortgage. You don't have, these commitments aren't exactly insurmountable. And you had to pivot.
That's right.
You had to go into your toolbox and make some new tools and figure out how to adapt and make it work.
Well, we weren't assholes with the money, and we weren't then, we're not now, and that's the problem. A lot of people think that that's reality. It's like the market's great, it's going to keep going up, keep going up, and they're like, cool. Well, now I can afford that. They upgrade their house, they upgrade their car, they upgrade their second car, they upgrade their lifestyle,
vacations.
And and we joke about this all the time. Imagine if you had to cut whatever, even $2,000 out of your budget. Right, that's not easy, right? After you're used to living that lifestyle, now some of these guys that were used to living on $5,000 a month, now they're probably living on whatever $25,000 a month, and they have nothing they could cut. If you look at some of their household budgets, we could cut them as an outsider looking in, but they're so used to that it's I got to go file bankruptcy to get out of this because there's no other way.
Yeah, or they're just saying it's too hard. They liked the lifestyle because you only had to do this much work to get this, and then you can still get this, but it takes a lot more work. Right. Or if you want to put the same amount of work in, well, then be okay. Stay within your means.
Yeah.
And be realistic and be content with that. But the landscape changes. The landscape always changes.
Yep. Right. Well, and it's changing right now, and you're witnessing a lot of people having issues not only from the buyer side, from the realtor side, from the investment side. You see all these people starting to struggle, and you're like, yo, dude, what are you doing? And it's like the opportunity is now. As people are exiting, the opportunity is now. We got great runway, and I think something I think we talked about my background from the fire department is you just talked about it. You're like, I only had to do this to get this much, and then when things change, I had to do this much and only had to do this. I could get the same amount. How much of that from like the Marine Corps or like structured, like humble beginning lifestyle of like going out and killing? Because I always said, in the fire department, we couldn't leave the fire scene until it was done. I was dumb enough to get up every day and do the same thing over and over again, and I would not quit until it was finished. Like, where do you think like that like work ethic comes from inside of you? Is it early on? Is it through your military or just
the way? I mean, just my parents.
Yeah.
My parents are blue collar folks. Like my dad, I would say probably outworks me now.
Yeah.
He retired from the oil field, and they run a ranch, and he runs the ranch part time, but that guy still goes out, and he's got no problem
cracking the whip.
Yeah, he'll go manually work and just methodically and just work throughout the day. It's just the mindset. You get it done. You've got to get it done, and you define what you want to do.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Well, Jason and I talk a lot about it. We talk almost every day. It's kind of how this podcast started. Is like, let's talk about our thoughts, but it's like, it's not that we're talking about other people. You're like, dude, just do just a little bit more. If you just do a little bit more work, you'd be golden, dude. And they don't do the work.
And this will dovetail, like this almost perfectly dovetails into the work-life balance you want to talk about. There's no such thing as balance. Like, you can sort of get balance, but you're going to, like, something is going to rock your boat no matter what. You have to clearly define your priorities and what is important to you, your priorities. You just say, okay, every day I have to put effort into this.
Right.
And define what that effort is. And then it's not a matter of, I'm going to do it for a week, I'm going to do it for a month. No, you're going to do it for 6 months. You're going to do it for a year. And after that, it just starts.
It's a habit. It's permanent.
It snowballs, and then it's your lifestyle. And if you do it that way, like I carried around an extra 40 pounds for like 7, 8, 10 years. And this last year, I just said, I'm done. Changed how I ate, changed how I slept, started working out again, got some physical therapy, got some aches and pains fixed. And now I go to the gym, and I can put an hour and a half in the gym, and I just, like, I get done with the gym, and it's just like, back, I feel like what I was when I was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that started because I said, I'm going to eat right, and then I'm going to do 20 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. But you have to prioritize what you want, and then every day you put effort on it. Every day.
Yeah. Dude, that's so powerful because, again, like people just don't, whether it's business, personal life, whatever it is, personal excellence or just being successful, whether it's a W-2 or you're self-employed, nobody wants to do the work. Like, okay, you can still be like a bum and have a W-2 job, or you can be uber successful inside your W-2 job, right? Like, and most people aren't willing to go and do it. And like you said, everybody's got shit. Like even the guy that you think's got it all figured out, and then like you're like, that dude's got the same problems I do, And that's why I like going to mastermind events. It's like I put these guys on a pedestal, and then I get there with them, and they're like, that guy's got the same damn problem I do. I'm glad you're human, So
yeah,
they just deal with it differently.
Right.
I mean, they just expect it, and the more money you have, the more success you have, the more your problems are good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you had problems at, whatever, $5,000 a month, you're going to have problems at $50,000 a month. Money's not going to change that. Obviously, it's a resource and it gives you means to fix that. But I always, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, I get real scared sometimes for a lot of these folks that have made a lot of money over the last few years that haven't learned the lessons. They don't have the business acumen because I can say this because I know all of us here that like no one's gone like, because if you go up here, you're going right back down. You might go back up, but you might not go back. And I don't want to play that game. That's a roller coaster. I don't like roller coasters. I like slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race.
Right. Yep.
And that is because guess what? If you're slow and steady and you really build like a big snowball and, someone takes a big hit out of that snowball or it hits a rock or it hits a big branch, some comes off, that's okay. But like, I don't want to hit a home run just to get it taken right back from me overnight. And it doesn't need to be like that.
It's like,
listen, I think all of us will say that, there's some anxiety and angst related to like, hey, I really want to get to this. And there's a lot of anxiety that that's so far away. I just wish I was here. Well, if you were just there, if you accomplish that, something overnight, and you didn't put in the heavy lifting, you didn't get any of the principles from that. You didn't get the core. So
most people,
they just want the exit.
If they come into money real quick,
same thing.
Leave just as quick.
I've been reading a lot of, like, Ian and I both read the book, The Psychology of Money, which I highly recommend if you never read that, last year. And I've been reading a lot of books on just, related to psychology and how people think, related to money and things like that. And it's interesting, and I see it, and it makes a lot of sense. But because we're all front lines of real estate, that's where I get scared the most with some of these investors. And we can talk about here in a second your thoughts on the local market, because I know so many investors that, in the last 5 years, they made a lot of money. And it's like, I hope you're saving. And I don't think you are, because I see your lifestyles.
Investing. Right.
When we were in the heyday in King Farm,
yep.
Not to date everything, but when we were in the heyday in King Farm,
I think I know what you're gonna say.
I remember like the company events, like the office events we'd have at Thai Farm, like those were like big money events.
Yep.
And there was people drinking a lot. We were all having a good time. Things were great. And I distinctly remember sitting there like, interest-only loans like this and stated income. It's like, it's almost like we're drinking cheap alcohol and there's a hangover coming.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
and you like I just something in the back of my head back then, even as young and as inexperienced as I was, like I knew it was like, we're gonna pay for this. We're gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily look at this last increase that we've seen. I don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
About your thoughts on where the market is and why you think it's different.
So, supply and demand, right? Supply and demand. If there's a lot of homes for sale, there's not a lot of buyers buying the homes. The sellers are going to have to compete, drop their price, and then the buyers will buy the homes, right? We don't have a supply problem here. We don't have an abundance of supply. We're not going to have an abundance of supply. And money, despite the mortgage rate increases, 5% on a mortgage, and I'm not talking hard money and investor side. That's a different beast, and you guys talk about that. But like for your average consumer who just wants a mortgage, 5% is historically amazing. It's not what we had, but it's historically a good loan.
Sure.
Okay. But you have a lot of those buyers that are looking for places to buy because they don't want to rent, because it costs more to rent here than it does to buy. But sellers are not putting their house on the market because there's a significant portion of sellers that they're locked in on a 30-year fix from 2 to 3.5%.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheap as hell. It's going to take a lot for those guys to sell that house.
Right.
So we're not going to see. I don't think we're going to see inventory for a long time. I think the market's going to be okay for quite some time, and we're not going to see like the last one. Everybody just walked away from their mortgages because it's like, wow, my mortgage went from $2,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
I don't have equity in this home. Screw this, and
Right.
they walked away. So the banks put all their properties on the market, and that caused prices to go down.
Yeah, like legit. You're right, because they don't do 2-year arms, 1-year arms, 5-year arms. Everybody had that in the subprime. I don't know if you knew this or not. The subprime borrowers, they had this thing called a 228. That was a 24-month loan, and the rates just skyrocketed.
When we were selling, we closed. Was there any 30-year fix when you sold back then?
I don't know, probably not.
There probably was. You guys, with the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Why would you even waste your time trying to go through it?
No, it was stated income,
Right.
interest-only arms.
And stated income compared to full doc was like 0.25% higher.
Right.
So it was like, screw this. I'm not showing. I'm self-employed. I'm not showing all my income.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought I was 27. I bought a $625,000 house, stated income.
Crazy, man.
That was 2007. I settled on that. We had our third kid. And boom. I mean, it didn't have to show any documentation. Now you get a mortgage. They want to see your tax returns. They got to see your profit and loss, 2 years tax returns. They need your bank statements.
Your kids' information.
Yeah.
What underwear you wore last night.
And buyers are locked into a 30-year fix.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that is the big thing, what you're saying. Well, obviously the first part, which I think a lot of people understand, is it's not easy to get a mortgage right now. It's fair, let's call it. Like, it's not all that easy to get a mortgage. Back then it was really easy. But more importantly, like you said, people's payments aren't changing. The reason everyone had to walk away from their houses is because their payments went up significantly.
Well, you have to prove that you can pay this loan back, which we didn't do then.
Yep.
And then most people are putting 10, 20% down or more.
Yeah.
So they have skin in the game.
The only pressure we got now, I would say, and I don't think it's much. I think what you're talking about is nationwide. You're in a smaller market. You're in the panhandle of West Virginia, right? Is that where you sell, or
no?
40% of my business is Maryland, 40% is West Virginia, and 20% is like Virginia, D.C.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm all over. I'm from like Hagerstown to Columbia, down to Front Royal to.
Oh, you get it in.
Yeah, I'm all over, dude.
Wow,
yeah,
good for you. But either way, I think like what you're talking about from the supply and demand side of things is true probably nationwide. I don't think it matters if you're in middle America, if you're in the top MSA in the country. I believe you're right on a lot of this. I think the one outside pressure that none of us are discussing, and I'm not trying to make this political, is that there's a ton of inflation going on. And I think that's the outside pressure that's going to slow people down from either buying or being able to afford, not the interest rates. People need a place to live. I tend to agree with you there. I tend to agree that rents are out of control, but they're trying to keep up with the market.
Yeah.
But I think this thing called inflation, whatever it's not slowing down anytime soon.
There's nothing, like, they can't legislate their way out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you printed the money. The money's in the market.
And they're not
going to do what it does.
Yeah, and they're printing it and shipping it overseas. Like it's not stopping, right?
Yeah.
I mean, dude. So I'm remodeling my kitchen right now. Great time to do it. I went to Chipotle the other day to go get lunch because I don't have any way to make food. Dude, it was like $13 for like what I paid like $8 just a few months ago.
Well, I told you the Five Guys story, right?
Yeah, you did. But go ahead.
When I was with my son and we went and they opened up a new Five Guys in Ellicott City. I walk in there, I'm looking, and cheeseburger, regular French fry, regular chocolate milkshake. Guess what the price was?
$15.
$25. Have it on my phone. I can show it. Nobody believes me.
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
It was like, whatever, $12 for the cheeseburger at $5. It was $25 for a kid to have. I mean, whatever, as an adult meal, but it was $25 freaking dollars.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, so I was like, I'm not getting anything.
Yeah. Is there gonna be any scraps here, guy?
No, straight up, I was like, I'm not ordering anything because I'm not spending $50 for the two of us to
eat at Five Guys.
To eat it,
and that's no slight to Five Guys.
Agreed. Yeah,
Five Guys is legit.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's right. How you gain that extra 40 pounds, huh?
Yeah. I still eat.
Every restaurant's the same like that. Every restaurant went up a lot. It's not just them. It's Chipotle. It's $13.
Yeah.
And I mean that's just what it is. I mean it's down to a McDonald's freaking Happy Meal. Like it's everything.
And all that dollar menu stuff.
There's no dollar menu.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean it's still affordable. Like it's cheap.
We had a joke.
We had a joke. Though.
Yeah, we had a joke the other day that there's no want to get away flights anymore. The want to get away on Southwest is $250, not $49.
Travel everything, dude. And then it's like the supply.
And who wants to because everything's so late.
Right.
Like when my parents come out to visit, we almost always bet on delays or an overnight stay because they either fly into Denver and over, or they fly to Minneapolis to Baltimore, and that connecting flight. Something's always late. Something's always jacked.
Oh, yeah.
The airline industry.
I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's every industry.
I'd rather take a road trip across the country than fly.
How long is that drive?
To North Dakota?
Yeah,
it's probably 30 hours. Yeah,
37 hours, huh? It's a good road. It's a good road trip.
We went to Branson this summer. That was like 20-some hours.
Okay. So. Yeah. No, I mean, dude, this country's big when you start looking at it because there's a few times I've been like, I'm just going to drive to Louisiana down to one of our storage properties. And I was like, 18 hours, F that. I can be there in like 2 hours on a flight,
Yeah.
But, to go back to the supply chain, all this lateness issue, that factors into everything you're talking about that's driving prices. But then you got to worry about affordability. And it's like, what keeps up, what doesn't. I always believe there's subsidies in the marketplaces from first-time home buyers and like your VA loans and things along those lines that people are always going to buy. But, man, like, I believe you're right that the market continues in some sort of fashion, but I do worry about this outside force from the residential side of things of like what happens. You know,
It is. But last year we had 10 buyers for every house.
right?
Or what felt like 10 buyers.
Right.
Every house I put up, I got 10 offers on, right? This year we got like 4 buyers for every house.
Yeah,
So if we ever get to like 2 buyers for every house, then it's going to be kind of even.
yeah, we'll be back. Yeah, back to normal,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Then it's going to be like, okay, that's fine. And we're not seeing huge price increases in most
Or not.
contracts, and we are seeing price reductions, but that's because they were Yahoo sellers
Exactly.
who were like, you gotta be
Overpriced.
out of your bloody mind. That's like you can look at the data, the neighborhood comps, and be like, you're obviously overpriced.
right.
Well, we don't care. It's a good market. Okay, I'll do it your way for a while, but when nobody gives you an offer, can we do it my way?
Yeah, and that is what's lower in price, and also it's got to be a nice, nice property that's priced well. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with investor stuff. I don't know if you have thoughts on that related to fix and flippers and stuff like that. Is there still going to be enough margin?
That's the most competitive market I see.
I don't know. Well, right now,
Like
Dude, that panhandle out. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but that panhandle out where you are in West Virginia, our property manager, dude, he's building he's doing spec home builds and selling them like that because everyone from DC and
It's wild and wonderful out in West Virginia,
Yes.
people. I'm telling all you Maryland and Virginia folks, it is the reason I got my license is West Virginia is it ain't too bad. Hit me up.
Yeah.
All the agents I know, hit me up.
Yeah. No, but dude, it's crazy because all the DC people aren't going back into town to work. Everyone's working from home. He built this beautiful home out. Man, the name will come to me before you leave. Forget the name of the town, but anyway, he built it. I was like, Donnie, who is going to buy a $700,000 house out here?
Shepherdstown,
A little bit past there.
Hedgesville, Falling Waters.
Falling Waters, I believe.
Everybody loves Falling Waters because it's right on the river and you're in Hagerstown.
Yeah.
And then you take 70 in.
Yeah, and he's like, dude, watch, some guy from DC will come and buy it. Some guy from DC came and bought it, spent another $100,000 in upgrades, and was like, I only got to go to the office one day a week. I'm good.
Yep.
I'm like, God damn, dude. It's crazy. But I think some of the remote working is going to help some stuff out. You still got your military bases that are doing things. I forgot what I was derailing you on. I know we were talking about something else, so I apologize.
But not everybody's as tied to geographic locations anymore.
Right.
They can telework a lot of the time.
Right.
So that's freaking awesome. Like I have guys who worked at the census. They don't have to go in anymore. So they moved. I sold them a place in Ranson 3 years ago. They just had their first kid. They moved even farther out because they're like, I don't have to go to work.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. I mean, I think that's going to help prop the market up a little bit. I think some of that people moving around to get where they want to get. But then the other question is, where do we stand on foreclosures,
And the fix it and flip stuff.
Oh, that's what it was, fix and flip stuff. Yeah, he was fixing and flipping stuff, right?
Well, you get some buyers in the lower price ranges, 100 to 200, 250 range.
Right.
And almost everything there is gone in a weekend. Almost everything. And it's always bought by investors who either paying cash or putting 50% down or something crazy. Your first time buyers in that entry level price point, they have no chance.
yeah,
They're at such a
because investors just want to buy them in cash and then they'll rent them out.
Investors.
Yeah,
Like
they rent them out or they flip them. You think
they flip them.
they're flipping them?
Yeah, they flip them.
Yeah, we're in an interesting spot because investors are hurting for inventory right now, and investors, that's another thing. They think they're going to be able to continue to flip 5 properties a month all the time, and now there's a lot less inventory, and they're scrambling. And the worst thing to do is buy a deal at not a good price. But these things, I don't personally think things are going to sell above whatever the highest comp was. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I think
it would be the exception, not the rule.
You think?
Whereas the last 2 years is it was like back in the day, you'd price a listing at if you didn't care about square footage or model, you just said what's the highest comp in the neighborhood?
100%
go
right.
20,000 more, and then you get multiple offers, and it would still go over that.
Yeah,
You're not doing that anymore.
No.
You got to look at your square footage. This is the model. These are the upgrades. I recommend you do this, and if you do it right, you're going to get an offer. You might even get 2 or 3. But if you do it wrong, it's going to sit. It's going to linger.
Yeah. But even though there's still so much uncertainty, even though we all know that there's no inventory, like how many houses in your particular neighborhood or your whatever few block radius are there on the market? None, right? Or very, very rare, maybe one. But like, I still feel like there's just uncertainty. Like, even though it's like, hey, like I know that this house will sell for this because there's no other inventory. That nobody else, someone's going to buy it, but we're in a weird spot right now. And
it's a transition.
But it's, market cycles in general, like they're all different. They're coming, but they're all different. And like this feels way different than it did in 08.
It's not even comparable.
I know, but it's but the last few years feel comparable. And that's where it gets funky. Like, dude,
the run up, right? You're saying the run up to it.
The run up was very similar.
But it's just kind of like,
and I don't want to be like that naive guy that says, "Oh, well, we live in the DC area, we live in the Mid-Atlantic region, like we'll never get hit. Like we've got job stability, we got this. There's no inventory, the market's never going to collapse." Like it feels like it's never going to, but like, is that just emotions feeling that way? Because it didn't feel like it was going to in 08 and 07, and it hit. It went down 40%.
Yeah,
overnight.
Even then, like what I said, like. I distinctly remember sitting at Thai Farm and King Farm. There was a company event, or what was the steakhouse?
Wait, what's Thai?
You remember when we were?
Oh, yeah.
There was
I know what you're talking about.
Those two restaurants.
Yep.
And we'd always have company stuff there. And like I'm just sitting there like, we're drinking cheap alcohol, or there's a hangover coming. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Because like, what happens in 2 years when these arms reset and values don't go up?
But we don't feel that now. But what we do feel now is like, hey, this house sold for $100,000 more in the last 2 years.
Inflation's going to factor into this one way or another,
right?
And that's probably most likely what we're going to see. But I don't think we're going to see a crap ton of inventory because people are not like.
People aren't letting go of their.
People are not going to walk away from their home that they have $150,000 in equity in, and almost everybody has $100,000 in equity if you've owned a home in the last 2 years.
100%.
It's intrinsically different, right? And I would compare it to in 08, there was this huge balloon and it was blowing up, and then it just popped, right? Like within a few week cycle,
It went from a seller's market to a buyer's market on a dime.
Right. So someone popped the balloon. Now you got outside pressure from inflation and everything else going on in the world, just squeezing this balloon and slowly letting the air out. Whereas I feel like Jason's saying the run-ups were same. I'm waiting for this pin to pop this balloon, and it hasn't happened. And it's probably more scary this way because you're like, dude, just get it the fuck over with. You know what I mean?
Well, also like there's a lot of uncertainty. Like you don't know, like. Yeah. 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, the day that like everything shut down with COVID, and we're like, what the hell's going to happen, right? And then
that was fun.
That was wacky. And then interest rates skyrocketed very, very quickly. Again, they're still at all-time lows. Don't get me wrong. Like I agree with all of that, but like, what's going to happen there? And stuff has slowed down. There a lot of institutional back capital and big home buying companies have stopped. It's just, curious to see what happens. But the good part is we all have, and hopefully everybody watching or listening to this, they put the right business practices in place and the infrastructure in place that who cares if it does?
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Right,
that's the new norm. You base it off of that. Like your business can't just be contingent on that style of market cycle.
And that's what I was going to say is like none of us would be in business if we sat here and fret over all these outside forces.
Yeah.
We got to be cognizant of it to be like, all right, how are we going to adjust, do our thing, and keep it moving? But in the same sense, Jason sat here and fretted over, oh my God, interest rates moved by a half point. What do I do with my loans? I don't know what's going on. I got to change my price. You wouldn't be in business. You would not have that much capital deployed. If I sweated over, oh, dude, there's no supply. People aren't moving. I don't know if people are going to rent storage. I would never buy another storage property, right? Same thing for you. Like none of us would be in business. And I think that's a good point to be like, you know what? You need to be aware of what's going on, but don't let it affect your life. Yeah. Like you got to keep moving and doing the right thing and move towards your goal.
Yeah.
You've heard of a statement called control the controllables.
Right.
That's out of our control.
Right.
When I talk to sellers when you're listing the house, there's 3 things you can control. How the property looks, how the property is priced, and how the property is marketed. Everything else, the rates, this, that, it's all out of your control. You have to respond to any of those exterior factors by the 3 things. So for you got your things you can respond, you do. For me, I got to market. I got to market myself to get customers, and then I got to market properties to get them to move. And if
Right.
I don't market properties to get them to move, I'm not going to have customers. So what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to do a bunch of virtual tours, video, all that stuff. We're going to get spun up on all that. I'm going to learn how to do the TikToks and the social medias and stuff, and then we're going to move property that way.
Right.
You're going to have to adapt to the market.
Exactly.
And isn't it amazing that people are more emotional about the things that they can't control? Like, oh, the interest rates. Dude, you can't control that, dude. All right. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You can't control how many people show up to your... Well, you can kind of control how many people show up. But in the end, they're more emotional about things that they can't control rather than be like, you know what? I can control this. I'm going to do this the best I possibly can. And everything else will work out.
And put effort into it every day.
Right. Exactly.
Do you think the sale of real estate has changed and will continue to change to the digital world related to...
I can tell you this. You ain't going to buy homes off Amazon. And Zillow, good luck. It ain't going to work.
Yep.
Homes are too complex. And a real estate transaction is too complex. It's not like you would do that. It's going to refine. We're going to do settlements, I think, virtually at some point in time. We'll do other stuff. But I don't think people are going to buy and sell homes online. I think that's impossible.
What about different price points? Like, do you think people will still pay 6% to list $1 million house compared to a $100,000 house?
I don't think I think if I answer that question, I get in trouble. Honestly, I think I could get in trouble for.
No, you don't have to answer that question.
Yeah.
All right.
All I can say is
There's things that go on.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything.
I think I'll get in trouble.
I'm just curious. I'm always curious what people think, because, like, let's say you have $1 million house and it costs them $60,000 to do, or you go to like a Redfin and a flat fee lister. And don't get me wrong, I know the value of real estate agents. I pay for real estate agents on every deal I've ever done because I don't want to I don't want to deal with the hassle of it. I want to leave that to an expert. Do I know real estate? Some agents I've used.
Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It hasn't changed that much.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I know more than some of these real estate agents. I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying in general. But I don't want to deal with
the
it.
last 2 years, you're probably right.
But like, I don't personally want to deal with it. So I see the value. I see the value in spending money on a lot of things. But like, I can see why some people might not want to see the value. So I don't know. I'm curious if like. And I guess like the Redfins and the flat fee listers over time probably have put some pressure on some of the bigger agents' commissions. Maybe not.
I haven't changed my commission. I was competitive commission. I mean, even back then they had Larry Lesson and Save Six. Remember that stuff? So those guys are still around. When the market is good like it was, they're around.
Yeah.
When the market is not, they go away.
That was just straight commodity. That's all that was. It was like it was a race to the bottom on terms.
Yeah. and when those guys go, like when it gets more difficult and you have to market a property for longer and go through more buyers and call and get feedback and do all that stuff, those guys are going to go away because it's not a profitable business model for them. And I'm just doing like,
and they couldn't sell a house like that. They weren't.
Successful realtors still, through the good and the bad, they call and get feedback. They do this.
I agree.
Those practices haven't changed really.
I agree. It was more of a question because I do believe a lot of real estate agents get a bad rap, and most of them, 80% of them should get a bad rap because they do a crappy job. So that's the nature of it. But the good news is, and if they're not taking it seriously, if they're not working hard into this, they're going to get weaned out because
there's a lot of good realtors.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good realtors. I don't want to not say that, but there's
no, I agree.
There's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
But again, they'll get weaned out. I mean, listen, if I'm not the best hard money lender, the private lender, or if I'm not one of the better ones, I'm going to get weaned out. It's the same thing with all of us. Treat it like a business. Like, do it the right way. Put in the heavy lifting, take care of your clients. And, the stuff that you need to be doing behind the scenes that no one will ever see is the stuff that catapults you to the next level.
You were talking with Chris earlier about the dude about that business.
Oh, the operator with the tenant that wants to move.
Yep,
exactly. Same thing. bad operator. Tenant says, I want to roll out. Bad things happen to bad people. He tried snaking us on the same deal. And guess what? We're ultimately winning because we did the right thing every day. We continued to work on our property. I didn't go, screw that guy. I'm going to sabotage him and go steal his tenant because you tried screwing us. I said, nope, we're just going to continue to build the property. And when the property's done, the right people are going to show up. And doing the right thing has led us down on the path to get the right tenant for our building. It just happens to be coming from that same guy.
It's a relationship business.
Correct.
You're dealing in property, but you're still a relationship business.
Everything is. And I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, in regards to relationships and dynamics, and people don't value them. I get it. Like, relationships change, over time. Some of your vendors change or your clients change, but in the end, like, you still need that relationship. Yeah, as you're growing your business, your needs might change, but people still can provide you value, and you can still provide value to people. There's no reason to be a dick to someone, or just because you're having an issue, don't take it out on someone else, So, yeah, man, it's people don't value it, and I think it goes back to what you said, having to manage 30 men and women, probably all type A personalities in the military, especially the Marine Corps, guaranteed type A personalities that,
Most of them.
Yeah, everybody's going to kill her. Yeah, believe me, I know. I worked in a firehouse,
Yeah.
believe me. But yeah, it's like you're managing 30 men and women that are ready to go be killers, and you're like, yo, dude, deep breath, chill out, let me get you to the end. And that's where you start building the relationships and working with people and building dynamics that later in life you don't realize those life lessons there was like, thank God I went through that,
Yeah.
So, but speaking of managing 30 men and women, he has 9 kids, right?
9.
How in the F do you I can't manage 2 kids.
The oldest just started college.
Holy
and
shit.
She's been working at Chick-fil-A for quite some time, about a year, and she's going to continue her full college courses and probably move to Costco to full-time. And she just bought a car.
Good for her.
10 days later, she accidentally rear-ended somebody.
Oh, of course.
So that's a tough situation.
It's a good
Yeah.
Hey, at least it was just
Life
a rear
lesson,
end.
baby.
That's a good life lesson.
I did really feel bad for her, though. It's like, that's a tough one, kiddo, but I truly felt bad.
Yeah.
And then you just got to take care of them, make sure they're engaged.
So you're 18 to what's the youngest?
2.
Holy
Carla turned 2 in February. Caitlin turned 18 in February.
Oh my God,
Carla
dude!
turned
Like my stomach, can you tell? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
just
getting,
when you-
I'm getting nervous.
Just when you think they're out, that you start all over again.
Oh my God! Like she keeps going. You sure you don't want a third? I'm like, yeah.
Fudge,
No,
no.
we're almost out of diapers. No, like I'm good. Like, dude, that's crazy.
I was telling my friends the other day, I bought diapers at Costco for 18 years. And Carla's 2. It's
Right.
pretty soon she's going to be potty trained. I'm not going to buy diapers for the first time in 18 years.
Holy crap, man! Oh my God, dude, that is what. Could you imagine any
do-
twins or triplets in there? All singles.
Hey, does anyone ever think your oldest is the parent of the youngest? Just curious.
God, I hope not.
No, I mean, I'm just.
We're living in
Caitlin
2022,
Dunn's pretty
babe.
young, though. So, but I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm just curious.
It's 2022. You never know, but
Yep.
Not a bad
Yeah.
thing. It's a lot.
It is.
My parents' next door neighbors have 9 kids too.
It is a lot, but every kid
Or 9 kids. Did I say
every
19?
kid, like every one of them, I wouldn't trade one of them.
They're all
at
unique in
all.
their own way.
They're all completely unique and amazing, and they all require you to give up a little bit of yourself and become selfless in a way.
correct.
And I think that's a character trait that we don't have in the world today. It's not about you. It's selfless. And Gary Vee and stuff, acts of service and stuff. Are you providing
Right.
value to people and stuff? Well, when you have 9 kids, those acts of service come naturally to them.
Right.
And like the older kids, they could. I mean, I would probably argue they're more capable than most parents today.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably gave them a ton of responsibility at an early age, or they felt the need to jump in.
I mean, they're still kids, and I get on. I'm almost a disciplinarian to a fault.
right.
I can see that. I can see that.
What do
like,
you mean?
No. I'm saying the older kids take care of the younger kids at a necessity.
Well, some
and-
say like, they jump in and they're like, all right, let me help mom and dad because I know there's so much going on around the house, and I do
They
want to
got
eat.
it.
I want to eat dinner tonight, so mom's got to cook or dad's got to cook. I'll go play with my brother, right, or sister, or whatever. Yeah,
you need to. Like, there's no other unless it's done the right way from the beginning.
Yeah, I just hate when the kids
Step
start
up,
team-
Ian. You got seven
No,
more to
dude,
go,
no.
baby.
Well, you know what was really awesome is when Nick and Caleb, like Caleb's been wrestling for 6 years now, and we had Caleb wrestle for 1 year. He's 16 now, and he wrestled by himself for 1 year, and then the next year we got Nick involved, and Nick is 5 years younger than Caleb, I think, something like that, maybe 6. Don't ask me to do the math on this right here, but
Do you know all their birthdays?
yeah.
Off the top of your head?
Yep.
You don't have to tell them. I'm just curious.
Then it'll be a 3-hour episode.
Yeah. But Caleb would work with Nick those first 2 years and teach Nick so well those first 2 years, just the wrestling stuff, to watch that happen. That was really cool, you know. And then recently my 2 daughters have gotten into wrestling in the last 2 years. And to see their younger brothers help them and to see Caleb help them is really
it's cool.
Yeah.
So there is that dynamic, but there's also the dynamic of, like, you guys, if you say one more crossword to one another, I swear to God, I swear to God.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that too. But
Oh yeah, dude. When my two of them start teaming up against us, I'm like, are we really going to war? Like me versus you two? All right, like. And I'm sure you got group dynamics to deal with and everything else with inside the 9 of like these two, like, and then this one's mad at this one. Like, and it's just great. But, that probably your relationships and everything else, it's like, it's probably good that you're a really good relationship guy because you probably couldn't manage 9 kids if you weren't that good of a relationship guy, right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm not the best at relationships, but
yeah.
I try.
Yeah, but hey, man, everybody's got something going on, But, like, I'm talking about, like, relationships with people in general of, like, having that dynamic between you and another human being, whether it's a client, a loved one, a kid. If you're not a good communicator or not a good valuing your relationship with someone, it's going to be tough to raise 9 kids, let alone 1 kid, So,
100%.
Well, what else? Anything else we need to ask Chris before we wrap this up?
oh yeah, I mean, we got the one question, but before we get there,
Anything else we should talk?
Can I bring one thing up?
Yeah,
Pan this over here.
the original.
This got turned into a painting shirt.
OG.
And I apologize, but this thing's like 10 years old.
It's still going strong.
I got the original issue, man. I got the original model here.
OG, baby.
It's still
Those
in
were
good shape.
Those were good quality shirts back then.
These are great shirts.
Our quality went.
This is that new quality T-shirt, that new T-shirt fabric that's nice and soft. It was like the first one I ever got. That's why I still have it. So
I'm glad you enjoyed
thanks,
it.
man.
Got
There
2
you
more
go,
for you coming around. All right, so let's end with this. Do you have a recent book that you've read, or maybe a podcast that you listened to, an episode that you really enjoy? We like to ask a lot of our guests that. I don't know if you do any reading or podcast.
Jocko.
Yeah.
are you deep in the Jocko, huh?
Jocko and Goggins, and I know that's very, Jocko and Goggins are good, but I've also gotten into relationship stuff. Like you need to. The one thing I'm reading now is The Self-Governing Child by Nicolene Peck.
So
Okay.
that's the first for this show.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like it. I might go look at it.
If I would highly recommend it if you're a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
The Self-Governing Child. It's Nicolene Peck.
Nicolene Peck.
She's got a YouTube channel, Nicolene Peck.
Okay.
She's good.
Okay. How can everybody find you? I know you got a new TikTok channel that you're promoting.
Yeah. So you can mock me on TikTok. I do my best, but I'm providing content.
That's what matters.
I kind of don't know what to do with my hands and stuff like that, but I figure it out, and I'm providing decent content, I think. I'm posting to YouTube, I'm posting on TikTok, and I'm doing Instagram Reels 3 times a week, and we're going to get ready to do a podcast with my buddy Jeff Safwright down in Virginia. And but Instagram is the Krashiznick. I guess you're going to have to put that up. Post.
Yeah, nobody's spelling that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to click.
We're gonna
And
zoom.
then
We'll
just-
just zoom in on your shirt.
Yeah, on YouTube, look up Christopher Kershisnik, and that's going to be my stuff.
Awesome.
And the Krashiznick group on Facebook.
Perfect.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that your
Thank you.
website too? The Krashiznickgroup.com?
The K group.
The K group. Oh, people can spell that, so you're good.
The dash K group, I think, is what I did.
The dash K group. Okay.
I can spell that one. Game on.
Perfect. All right. Well, certainly appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, man.
I know this
I
wasn't.
miss seeing you guys. It was good to see you.
Hell
You
yeah,
too.
man.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
It's an honor to be the repeat guest, I guess. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having
Whenever,
me.
whenever you get your podcast up and running, if you need some guests, feel free to reach out.
Yes.
Hell yeah. We're in.
Great.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.